because of no personal service of a notice of termination, together with grotesque defects in the fraud called notice. It was done so defectively that Fry ran away, just as Barone ran away in the Thanksgiving week focus. That was the first eviction. Okie doke. Keep our ducks in a row here. Hi, Katie. It's Katie Kitten. And so I deal with the Fry petition, or rather the Fry notice, and I say that it's another defective petition. It's hopelessly remiss. This is January the 7th, 2000. No personal service has been attempted. Again, no court will have in personam jurisdiction. Again, there is a filling jurat, and there's no location given. And the following is quoted from the lawsuit in federal court, whose caption is reproduced on page 10 herein, pages 37 to 39 of the federal complaint. Outrageously, Fry does not give an address. Lists no Edward A. Fry as a lawyer. We have another phantom. Fry fails to base the action on New York State Real Property Actions and Proceedings law, which is very specific how these things must be perpetrated. And the first summary proceeding is still pending. Nobody can sue the same court or ask the same court for the same relief twice. Again, there's no basis for termination is stated. What is Kasari's motive? This alien Kasari does not state a claim, nor 10 days to cure. There is no 6 months notice of any dissatisfaction. What is the matter with this crazy Hungarian? He must be deported for injuring upright American citizens, and Franklin is a veteran. From D-Day to VE Day, Normandy to Weimar. Glendora pleads that this court evict Kasari from the USA, that's the federal court, do that. And again, Kasari violates the New York State Real Property Law, Article 7, harassing a tenant to move. The utter defect of Barone Kasari, December 6, 1999, should have laid this eviction issue to rest for all time. Nice people these Hungarians are. Citizens Franklin, Glendora, natives say, do not let any more of them in. To rob an 80-year-old man and his 70-year-old spouse of their home is dehumanized. To rob them of their right to enjoy and peacefully hold the premises they have paid for. We have paid something like $24,000 for these premises. A notice of termination must be done over to give court in personam jurisdiction unless the court en banc recuses and transfer action to a legal forum. Recuse. New Rochelle Court en banc must recuse pursuant to the CPLR and the judiciary law analogs to Title 28 U.S. Code Section 144 and 454, which says whenever a party to any proceeding in a district court makes and files a timely and sufficient affidavit that the judge before whom the matter is pending has a personal bias or prejudice either against him or in favor of any adverse party, such judge shall proceed no further therein, but another judge shall be assigned to hear such proceeding. Cher and Barone colluded on the withdrawal of the Thanksgiving week action, that was the first eviction, illegally denying respondents their rights, damages, costs, sanctions, inter alia. The statutes must be strictly construed. New York Real Property Law, New York Real Property Actions and Proceedings Law must be strictly construed. They are anti-tenant laws, and what few defenses they give tenants must be faithfully enforced. As ever, Barone Kasari have utterly failed at the law. Action must be dismissed if the court fails to recuse. Tenants cannot be abused any further. Guaranteed a republic. Every state and every citizen of the state is federally guaranteed a republican form of government. We want no more Gestapo, Nazism, or fascism. Notice of petition is signed by Barone, petition is signed by Casari. Paper must be stricken from the record for multitudinous defects. This Barone paper is better than the Thanksgiving botch. Glendora has taught Barone some law. The only way Barone could graduate from law school is copying the paper on the desk next to him. Casari had to be desperate to go back to Barone. Petition must be dismissed. Casari made no 3-day demand for the rent. This is the law. No commensurate dwelling. Franklin and Glendora have made 550 telephone calls to procure another apartment. Nothing was a match. The prices were up to $1,500, $1,600, what was $1,100. That's how the prices have risen in the past year and a half. Casari covenant. And Casari told us he did not want us to take anything that we were not satisfied with, and this is in the record. Immigration influx. That there is no rental inventory is attributable to the uncontrolled immigration influx. So many people come into this area and take all the real estate that there is nothing left for the natives. There are at least 20 Casaris that have come onto our country. They are not citizens. Immigration, INS, is not doing its job and should be sued. Barone picked the right form this time to fill in out of the law books. Not a holdover. Respondents have not been legally served a notice of termination. They are not holding over anything. Further, Glendora has never received a notice of petition and petition with her name on it. Franklin has never received a petition and notice of petition with his name on it. Petition action must be stricken from the record. Further, Glendora went to New Rochelle Court on yesterday, December the 25th, 2000, Friday at 3 p.m. and saw the file. There is no affidavit of service of the notice of termination. The George Fry one or the Edward Fry one. Affidavits of service only for petition and notice thereof, and none for the notice of termination. And here is the so-called affidavit of service for the notice of petition and the petition. Now there are a few, it's signed by Joseph C. Barnum. There are a great many defects to this. Hello. Oh, you want me to finish the bottle? Okay. Here is the other one. One was on Franklin and one was for Glendora. The action must be dismissed not only for no personal service, but additionally for defective substitute service. Barnum does not give his address. 7:30 a.m. or p.m. He says he served it at 7:30, but he doesn't say whether it's a.m. or p.m. Hearsay, not evidence, and not fact as to Cochran and military service. What does she know? Cochran is not a Mrs. He said Mrs. Cochran. Both Franklin and Glendora were at 96 Locust Avenue in their apartment at 7:30 a.m. and also at 7:30 p.m. He could have effected personal service, or he could have diligently tried to effect it. And see Glendora's log for that day. No diligent try at personal service on either party. And here are the logs, folks. And I keep a log hour by hour, minute by minute. And this log says that at 7:30 in the morning, we were here. We did not leave for Long Island until 8 a.m., 8:10 a.m. It's item number 33. Right here, 8:10 a.m. 8:10 a.m. leave. And then it shows that we got back and had sat down to do the screening of the 8mm tapes that had just been edited, and that we started to do that at 7:22 p.m. set up the 8mm. And so we were here, if he served at 7:30 p.m., substitute service, inadequate as it is, then he missed again on in personam jurisdiction, so the court has no jurisdiction over us. Peter says, I think that blondes have a better disposition than brunettes or redheads. And John says, I'm not too sure. My wife has been all three. I see no difference. And there's not much to see in a small town, but what you hear makes up for it. And television is a device where people who can't do a thing are watched by people who don't have anything to do. And Marilyn says, you see this jewelry? Yes. Well, it once belonged to a millionaire. Really? Who? F.W. Woolworth. That's Pennycat. Penelope Penquin. And the son says, Dad, what does college bread mean? And Dad says, it means a 4-year loaf made from the flavor of youth and the old man's dough. We have lots of things to report on you. I'm still angry with Cablevision, with all of their paperwork and getting a special, something that we didn't have to do and was just trumped up as another means of limiting and prohibiting public access. And here is another one. And Glendora signed this one, she says. Under protest, and signed it only because Mark Shukin is so good looking. And this letter says, if you have any questions about the Cablevision policies and procedures or this process, please call me. And this is Maurice Cunningham. And I say that that's shareholder waste. Paperwork, paperwork, paperwork. limiting and prohibiting public access. We can do without it, and it's a cheat. Oh, and it's also a caveat. But Bill Budrow got in his paper, and that program should be going, and of course they claim they never got it. But that program should be going on in Connecticut soon, shouldn't it, Penny? Yes. Now, Manhattan Neighborhood Network has producers grants, public access producers. They have grants. They give public access producers money to help them put on their public access show. So I sent this to Mark Shukin, and I said, how come you're not this public access friendly? Janet Russell sent me a notice that Cablevision, the Federal Communications Commission, has fined Cablevision Systems Corporation $127,500, goody, because it did not switch a Spanish language Univision affiliate to Channel 41 in 17 areas, including parts of Long Island. That's good. That's good. It's always good when you sue Cablevision. We went out to Great Neck to Shirley Bruno's operation, and we thought it was very, very pretty. We went up, was it Middle Neck Road, Franklin?
Middle Neck.
Middle Neck. Anyway, it was very pretty going through the villages, and her house is nice where they have the public access. Everything would have been fine if we hadn't got off the road. And here's Shirley Bruno telling us to tell us about the audio and hi-fi, yes or no, and the running time, and the program must be given an episode number. Well, I just gave you the episode number of this one. And and that's another bad thing that Cablevision did. They should be cablecasting the program in Great Neck, but they pulled out. Bad, bad, bad. So, moving on here, we have Americans for Legal Reform. Good old Felix videotaped the Americans for Legal Reform meeting. And he was supposed to send the tape to me, but however, it got into the hands of Bob Goldberg, and I don't know how, but I don't see how I can edit it if it's in the hands of Bob Goldberg. So if you want it edited, Carl, and sent into Cablecast, to be Cablecast, get the tape to me. And it was a very good meeting, and you must go to their meetings, and if you want the times and the locations of the meetings and when they pick it, you call Harvey, and Harvey's name and number are up on the screen. Okay, Glendora versus, well, it's the Bruiser Ken case. And the Bruiser Ken case was a whole frame-up and a trump-up, and Joan Azrak was a magistrate. You know what a magistrate is? It's a teacher's helper, and they like to call themselves judges. She had a mock trial, and it was a phony conviction, and it was Bruiser Ken who had socked Franklin in the jaw and knocked the poor fellow on the floor, and who had inflicted 6 bruises on me, and I ended up on the floor. And then he lied about all of this, and then he said we assaulted him and we never touched him. Poor baby. And so that was a whole bunch of lies, and Gershon had her chance to be a patriot and to correct this for the United States of America, but Gershon copped out to the cheat and the lie and the civil RICO. RICO, by the way, is Racketeer Influence Crime Organization, and that's what you have in the Eastern District of New York. Your federal court, Eastern District of New York, is a RICO. You have no place to go. And Penny sits on the papers because she wants me to scratch her ears. So anyhow, we naturally appealed Gershon's anti-American order confirming ASRAC, you know, the old buddy system, the old RICO. And then the crazy Alicia Hill, you remember, and Stuart Grossman said that I couldn't appeal. I had to have leave of appeal. And remember, I wrote back and said how crooked they were and how wrong they were, that this leave to appeal hoax only applied to civil cases, that you can't do that to a criminal case, even though this really wasn't a criminal case. It was quote, quote, because it was all a hoax, and it was all trumped up, and it was all fake. But even so, you cannot deny a person leave to appeal in a criminal case. Finally, they got their wits together and admitted that they were wrong, and sent us, or sent me, excuse me, Franklin's is another matter we'll take care of. They sent us this acknowledgement letter, docketing letter, giving it a case number, and so I filled out everything there and made my appearance and sent it all in, and this is to the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, the Ralph Winter Court. Here are some mistakes of theirs that I corrected. They always make mistakes. And it says that Ramos's address is 825 East Gate Boulevard in Garden City, and it corrects a few more things. And I sent to Stuart Grossman and to Alicia Hill. I called her Anita Hill by mistake. See how you tried to cheat me out of my right to appeal, crooked Gershon? Leave to appeal does not apply in criminal cases. Criminal trumped up that this one is. You should learn the law. You are poseurs. I have been directed by the U.S. Court of Appeals, Stuart Grossman said. You remember that? Ho ho, ha ha, hee hee. And now Penny's in my chair. So what'll I do, stand up through the rest of this? Penny, you want to sit in my lap? Is that what you would like, little Penny girl? Would you like to sit in Glenny's lap? Is that what you would like to do? You all upset by the noises. And now, Franklin's, this whole thing has been bifurcated, and that, of course, is to make more money. And Franklin has a separate. She has a legal aid, and the legal aid, named Colleen Cassidy, has written her brief and sent it in to the United States Court of Appeals Second Circuit. And Franklin and I are reading this. And I have a few comments on that. This is Franklin, and this is Glendora. You know, facts mean nothing to these people. Facts mean nothing to these people. They get everything wrong, no matter how many times you tell them. They weren't there, they didn't see it happen. Everything is hearsay to them, and they get the facts all backwards. And Colleen Cassidy says to Franklin, encloses a copy of the brief I filed in the Court of Appeals. It is essentially the same brief as was filed with the district court, except that I specifically dispute Judge Gershon's conclusions. And then she says, I will send you a copy of the government's brief when I receive it. Well, I say it's not the government, it's the anti-government. She's talking about Edgardo Ramos, whom we all know to be a crook. And I said it's good to get Ramos out of the hands of his little darlings in the Eastern District, where they let him lie and steal and cheat over 3,000 times. Maybe they will stand up to this crook. And then and on my letter, I want to know what Colleen Cassidy hears from Jane Ann Murray. I just think, and she hasn't returned, and it was a year ago February that Jane Ann went and took her leave of absence. And I told you what I thought about that. These are the so-called legal authority. It's a bunch of malarkey. It's just more bad decisions by bad judges. And she says, point one, that the prosecutor's rebuttal summation in which he falsely asserted that defense counsel, Jane Ann Murray, asked the jury to disregard Mr. Buell's testimony and suggested that defense counsel did not believe her own client, went so far beyond the bounds of proper argument as to render the trial fundamentally unfair. That Ramos, he'll do anything to lie. He'll do anything to cheat. He doesn't care what he's constituted of or what he's put on this earth for. He will do anything to lie his way out of it. Point two, the sentencing judge clearly misapplied the guidelines where she ruled that she would downwardly depart. This is Joan M. Azraq. Downwardly depart, but then imposed a sentence even higher than the lowest guideline sentence. That's Crooked Azraq. Crooked Azraq with an axe to grind and total oblivion to the United States of America. Glendora offered to give Murray and Grossman the latest update on sentence guidelines, and they declined, lazily declined. So, she's made a mistake here. She says it's the United States District Court. It isn't the United States District Court, it's the United States Court of Appeals. And she says it's appeal from a judgment of the United States Magistrate Judge. Well, I don't think it is. It's appeal of the order of Nina Gershon is what it is. And I think that's error. And she just puts down Glendora as a defendant, but Glendora is also an appellant. The magistrate judge says Cassidy had jurisdiction pursuant to United States Code Section 3402, but Glendora says that the magistrate judge never did have jurisdiction because she cheated. She did not have 624 jurisdiction. You have to have that. A magistrate judge cannot do a trial unless the litigant consents to it, and we never consented. Whether the prosecutor's rebuttal summation in which he falsely asserted that defense counsel asked the jury to disregard Mr. Buell's testimony and suggested that counsel did not believe her client, and this is the question, you just repeat it, what I read to you before, and the other question is that downwardly depart, but then she made it more instead of downward. And the statement of the case, preliminary statement, after a jury trial, and Glendora notes that this was a fake jury trial, but Jane Ann Murray, I've wondered, was ashamed that Glendora had caught her in this whole Criminal Justice Act sham, and I believe she left the country for that. She knew that I knew what was going on. I had caught on. You know, you believe, because you haven't been in it, you believe that they're all there to help you, and they're going to get justice, and America is going to prevail. It's just the opposite, okay? It's a recall. It's a scam. It's a sham. But you gotta, I guess you gotta live through it to know that. It says here that we were transferred by United States Marshals to be arraigned in Brooklyn. Well, as Franklin pointed out, we were not transferred by U.S. Marshals. We were transferred by FBI agents, ambushing FBI agents. Kwiatkowski and Jill and what's Kruper. Those bumps. And the federal, you know, the Fraudulent Bureau of Investigation. And she talks about how Mildworm said that we assaulted him. You all know the story, who was assaulted. It was Franklin and Glendora who were assaulted. And she never mentions the fact that Mildworm has been discharged. He's lost his job. Somebody told me that he'd been criminally fired, and I'm trying to find that out, and we have information for you on that. Well, she goes on saying the things that aren't true, and I go on setting the record straight. And so I'll finish scrutinizing this and making notes on it. And we're up to her page, up to our page 10. Now, we have called ACAL. Who is ACAL? ACAL is a security guard firm. They go out and get these ex-cops, and they hire them for minimum wage. And they're of the kind of Raymond Sullivan and Kenneth Mildworm. They're of that type. And so, remember Pinkerton used to have the contract. Well, Pinkerton lost the contract, and Bruiser Ken lost his job. So the company that took over, that the marshals hired, was ACAL. And they're a bunch of people from India. And they're out in Arizona someplace. Or someplace out west, one of those square states. What is it, Arizona or New Mexico or what?
New Mexico, I think.
And so we have called them and we have asked for the information. Why was Kenneth Mildworm fired? What were the reasons? Let me tell you, let me play you a response to that. Security so-called services, and this is February the 25th, 2000, Friday, and it's around 1:20 p.m. The area code you have dialed. No, you're crazy. 1-505-753-7832. Extension 232.
told that this is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And I have a complaint that our United States government is being abused, and that these people are in the hire of the taxpayers. The taxpayers have to pay for these crooks and these bums. And I have said this on TV, and I will keep calling until you tell me what we have a right to know. Why was Kenneth H. Mildworm fired? And why was he criminally fired? My name is Glendora. My number is 914-636-8902. I am not going to take your sass any longer. You owe this information to us. And stop running away and acting like a fugitive. To confirm deletion of this message, dial pound. To cancel, dial star. Message delivered. To disconnect, dial star. To continue, exiting the system. Goodbye. You said it.
Exiting the system. Okay, well then I went out and I monitored the courts, the judges in the Supreme Court, State of New York, County of Westchester. And while I was gone, Franklin got this call.
What town is this in the 914?
Westchester, yes.
What town is that?
New Rochelle.
Okay. And I wanted to know if, when I talked to her, to get her concerns addressed, if she has any concerns about Mr. Millworth.
Yes. I think she would like to talk with you.
When can you expect her back?
And your name is spelled.
Huh?
Your name,
Signius.
and that's spelled
S-E-I-G-N-I-O-U-S.
S-E-G-N-I-O-U-S.
N-I-O-U-S.
And are you in New York or?
New York.
Yes. What is your name? What is your telephone number?
My number is 331.
331.
I'm sorry. It's area code 212. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah.
212-791.
791. Right.
0184.
0184.
Yes.
And you had a call from your West Coast office, did you?
I was in contact with them.
I see. Right. Okay. 791-0184. Yeah, well, I know she'd like to talk with you. It's all based on apparently Kenneth Mildworm, who had been employed by you as a... yeah, Kenneth Mildworm.
Do you know him?
What?
Do you know him?
Do we know him?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Well, you're very good friends with him.
No.
You know him casually.
Yes.
What's your last name, sir?
Buell, B-U-E-L-L. Apparently, he was terminated by your company, and there was some criminal charge behind it.
There's no criminal charge behind it.
Excuse me?
There was no criminality behind it.
Oh,
I think Mrs. Buell was a bit misinformed. He wasn't charged criminally.
what was the basis of the...
Well, the basis of his discharge was inefficiency.
Inefficiency?
Inefficiency.
I see.
Incompetence.
I see.
Nothing to do with any kind of crime, anything like that. It was just that he wasn't up to the standards of the company.
I see. that. How long ago was he fired? Approximately. July. And at that time, was he assigned to the Eastern District or the Southern District?
Well, I think he was assigned to both of them.
Oh, yeah, I see, yeah. Yeah, we had an incident with him when he was in Uniondale. And,
Assigned in Uniondale.
yeah, the Uniondale Court on Long Island.
Was it a good incident?
No, it was a bad one. No, he was, well, as a matter of fact, he attacked both of us.
Mr. Wilworth attacked both of you?
He hit me in the jaw and knocked me to the floor. And then later we were charged with assaulting.
What's your first name, sir?
My name is Franklin.
When did this take place?
3 years ago. 18th of February, 1977.
1977?
Or wait a minute, 77, 78.
97.
Years ago was 1997.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes, 97, right, yes, 97.
And back to in 3 years ago, 97, have you knocked, back to in 3 years ago, 97, knocked you down. Did you bring any charges against them?
We tried to, but nobody would listen to us. And then they brought charges against us.
For what?
For assaulting him and
Okay, then.
keeping him from...
What do you want the company to do about this?
Well, I don't know. We were tried and convicted, and he was a central figure. The witnesses they had were all people connected to the court, and Mr. Mildworm didn't give a true testimony, and so that's all. That's what's behind all this.
Oh, I see.
But he certainly is not a good man. He denied that he hit me in the jaw and knocked me down.
How old is you, sir?
I'm 80 now. I was 77 at the time, 77, 78.
How old is your wife?
72 now, so she was 69 then.
Why did you keep calling the company in the West Coast to complain about this?
Well, because it's not a complaint really. I think it's more a matter of getting information.
Well, Mr. Millward was fired from the company in July because of inefficiency and incompetence.
I see.
And he's no longer with the company. He hasn't been with the company in over 7 months, 8 months.
Wait a
He what?
He hasn't been with us in over 7 months.
No, right.
I didn't hear what he said. What did he say, Franklin?
He said inefficiency and incompetence. He said he was fired in July, and he's no longer with the company, which I think he said before.
Yeah, you said that before. Okay, let's say, because that was sort of muddled, but that's what he was saying.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what's behind all this.
Oh, I see.
But he certainly is not a good man. He denied that he hit me in the jaw and knocked me down.
How old is you, sir?
I'm 80 now. I was 77 at the time, 77, 78.
How old is your wife?
72 now, so she was 69 then.
Why did you keep calling the company in the West Coast to complain about this?
Well, because it's not a complaint really. I think it's more a matter of getting information.
Well, Mr. Millward was fired from the company in July because of inefficiency and incompetence.
I see.
And he's no longer with the company. He hasn't been with the company in over 7 months, 8 months.
He what?
He hasn't been with us in over 7
No,
months.
right, yeah.
So he's on our own. We have anything to do with Mr. Millward.
No, I can see that, but everybody was so, we called people around the courts and the marshals, and they would give us no information.
Well,
and then
have your wife give me a call.
yeah, okay. But as I say, it's
Don't bother the West Coast. They told me to take care of this. Okay.
yeah. Okay.
That number you can reach me at 805.
What was that last thing he said?
They told him
He said,
to
"Have
take
your
care
wife-
of it.
Have your wife give me a call."
Yeah, and don't call West Coast again because they told me to take care of this.
Well, we will call it's not the West Coast, it's New Mexico, you said, isn't it?
I believe.
Yeah, well, we will certainly call if we want to. Now, let's go back just a itty bit. And then he started to say, "Have your wife call me?"
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And then, did he start to give a number?
Well, I think this is near the end of it. Yes, he gave the 2 numbers.
Okay. All right, here we go, Franklin.
And then
Have your wife give me a call.
yeah, okay. But as I say, it's
Don't bother the West Coast. They told me to take care of this. Okay.
yeah.
What did he say?
Okay.
That number you can reach me at 805.
805.
0010. I'm not in that number.
If you're not at 212-791-0184, you'd be at
805
805
0010.
0010.
Where's your wife now?
She's doing some errands.
Okay, she comes back. Give me a call.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for calling, Mr. Senius.
Okay, Mr. Buell.
Bye.
Bye.
What time was that, Franklin? I think
4:20 or
That
4:25.
was at 4:25 on Friday, February 25th.
No, thank you very much.
No,
You know, Franklin, as I told you,
I do not know.
Is anybody there who would?
as I told you, that 805 extension 212, of course, is Manhattan. And 805, you want to know where that is? That's 500 Pearl Street.
Right.
That's the United States District Court, Southern District of New York. 500 Pearl Street. And so this guy, Akal, he is another security officer, or just like This is the studio, a recording that goes with the studio. This is Glennie's table in disarray because she's working so hard. Then this is our editing in here, and it's 10 afternoon,
Here is the
and it's Tuesday, and it's February 15. These are Glenny's character generator indices, the backpack and the satchel. This is the player deck. This is for editing 3/4 inch and VHS. This is Glenny's archives, her second Canon camcorder. She's recording this with her newest Canon camcorder. Now this is the record rack, and simultaneously Glenny is making 5 dubs.
That can tell a judge, you're doing wrong. This is not ethical.
That's 3/4 inch, those are all Super VHS. These are the jackets that they are all going to go into. This is the wiring from Glenny's number 1 camcorder, Sony, and our number 2 camcorder is home. This is for editing on VHS.
It tells about his establishment and his membership and his duties and his procedure and his compensation. And I think that this is the committee.
Program number 2688, a chat with Glendora Public Access. Don't you think that editing facility at Lindbergh is good? It's excellent. We thank James Randolph and Richard Ruggles for that. Here are your jokes for the program today. The judge said to the defendant, "Why did you park there?" This was in vehicle and traffic court. "Why did you park there?" And the defendant says, "Because there was a sign that said fined for parking." And two secretaries, a young man was filling out an application for a job on the state dam, and one of the questions was, "What does hydrodynamics mean?" And he said, "It means I don't get the job." The chairman of the company was holding a meeting of the board, and he said to one of the board members, "I don't mind that you go to sleep in the middle of the board meeting, but it does hurt my feelings when you don't say good night." And aging, folks, is a matter of the mind. Aging is a matter of the mind. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. Here now is Gene Crescenzi.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good morning, Gene Crescenzi.
Good morning to you, Glendora.
Tell me what you think of the Diallo verdict.
Well, the Diallo verdict, while it's certainly no surprise to me, it comes as an opportunity to Gestapo, in the form of these 4 cops on trial, should be prosecuting him for fraud upon the people of the Bronx. And instead of prosecuting him, what he does is now arranging for a promotion for the fraudulent Mr. Johnson to become a judge. Well, this is the way I see it, and this is the way it's going to happen. It's no secret that Prosecutor Johnson's wife is a judge, and that she got her judgeship through Mr. Giuliani. She was appointed by Mr. Giuliani. So you will see immediately the conflict of interest, and then of course we've got the background of Giuliani as the prosecutor, Giuliani and Pascal Rose and Judge Kay. So this puts them all together. We've got a perfect gangster case under the RICO. We've got a perfect RICO prosecution available for us. But I don't think anybody is thinking that way except myself and other people who know about this. Secret arrangement, the secret government that puts the judges of their selection into power to rule and wreck their lives, and to make it possible now, any cop can go walking around with his gun drawn, and he can do target practice on the citizens of any county in the state of New York. Throughout the state of New York, the Gestapo police are now licensed to go around with their guns drawn, shooting people indiscriminately. And this is what it means, because there was no reasonable, the fraud was pulled upon the court by the judge keeping out the evidence to demonstrate the fraudulent approach of the police. They were looking for a rapist, not somebody who was going home. So if they're looking for a rapist, they got to find somebody who's had contacts with a woman or who is identified by a woman. Didn't happen. And of course, this is a deliberate failure of the gangster that was running the trial, Mr. Teresi, Judge Teresi, and of course he'll probably get a promotion for obeying the government mafia regulations and conflict of interest against the people, to operate the war, to continue the war against humanity that is operative under Giuliani and other people in the government. And of course, Mrs. Janet Reno, withdrawn Mrs. I don't know that she's married, but she hasn't said anything at all. And this, of course, the whole thing speaks of a RICO prosecution. Haven't heard a word about it. There are a few people that sit with the phony liberals in the ACLU. You haven't heard any word about them from the RICO vis-a-vis the operation of the New York, the police department gangsterhood. What can I say? I'm trying to answer your question, and of course it all goes back to a lot of it goes back to the Zionist connection of the Zionist domination of the Pascal Rose law firm over the government of the city and state of New York.
We have to speak to you about the New York statutes. I'm going to get a list of the New York statutes, and I'll read you the names of some of them to see if there's something there that will bring you justice. This is how they are listed in the index of the Consolidated Law Service. So very quickly, we have the abandoned property law, the agriculture conservation law, agricultural markets law, alcoholic beverage, alternative county government, art and cultural, banking, benevolent orders, business corporations, and that's the one upon which I sued Cablevision for denying me access to the books and records, and sued them for and won. Canal law, civil practice law and rules, that's about 8 volumes. That's how you handle court cases. It'd be good for you to read it. Civil rights, New York civil rights aren't much. Civil service, cooperative corporations, but of course in New York you do have the supreme sovereignty of the people. Remember that. The people have supreme sovereignty. The county law, the correction law, criminal procedure, debtor and creditor, domestic relations, economic development, education, election, eminent domain, procedure law, employer's liability, energy, environmental conservation, estates, powers, and trusts. That's how you write a will. Or it can even tell you how to get a will written to you, I guess. Executive, general association law, general business law, general city, general construction, general municipal law, general obligations law. That's very important. Like, for instance, that's the law that tells you if a landlord takes money as a security deposit, what he has to do with it. Highway, Indian, insurance, judiciary, very important one, labor, legislative, LIERI, local finance, mental hygiene, military, multiple dwelling, multiple residence law. That's the ones on which I sued Porzio and won that. The municipal home rule, navigation, not-for-profit corporations, parks, recreation, and historic preservation law. Now, that's enough for this week. If next week, if we have time, I'll read you the other side. What was my progress on today? I think I've nearly finished it. It was a project that I vowed in 1995 that I would read the New York statutes. Now, by that I mean I would read those that particularly applied. And the others, like the agricultural law, no, I don't read that. But anyway, I think I have finished that. Thursday, I copied the index of what is in the unconsolidated laws. This is a consolidated law service, which is a service. But then there's the unconsolidated laws of the state of New York. And I have a list of the unconsolidated law. The most important unconsolidated law I know in there is the Emergency Tenant Protection Act, which will protect you from greedy landlords, crooked lawyers, and corrupt judges. If you know that law, they can't pull their chicanery on you. So I think I've finished, folks. There's some more work I want to do, just closing it out and getting it in order and making a record of it. So you end up reading the laws that concern you, and you end up getting a feeling as to what the laws of the state of New York are, what your protections are, and what book they're in. There were 8 shelves, as I told you, and the TV screen isn't wide enough to show you how wide the shelves are. There are approximately 135 books, and the books are, on the average, this thick. And of course the indices, there's 6 books of indices, and then there's a research guide. So it's a great thing to do. I wish you would go to your public library, and I wish you would read the Consolidated Law Service, or McKinney's, but it's probably going to be Consolidated Law Service. And my monitoring of the New York State Supreme Court is just about over also. On Monday, I monitored the courtrooms. On the 12th floor, and I thought, it gave me a hunch, you better go back to the 14th floor and see how that trial is coming on the lawyers, suing lawyers. One group of lawyers was suing another group of lawyers because the second group hadn't paid the first group 1/3 of the contingency fee, but they hadn't paid 1/3 of all of the legal fees. And so the first group was suing the second group for that. And the jury was still deliberating about it, and it was about 1 p.m. Monday. Colabella there was for a while, and then he left the bench while the jury was deliberating. Then I went down to the, let's see, that was the 14th floor, so I continued on the 12th floor. And no judges were working. I found only one judge at work, and that was Nastasi, and it was about one of these insurance cases, personal injury, where the person injured is heavily insured, and so a whole lot of people are going to get money from the insurance company. And so, but he was the only judge that I found working. Then I asked, rang the bell at Colabella's office, Nicholas Colabella, and I asked the secretary, does Colabella want to see Glendora? And there was quite, I guess he had to think about it for quite a while. And then finally somebody came and let me in, and I sat down and I conversed with Nicholas Colabella for about 7 or 8 minutes. And then I told him a joke. On the 11th floor, which is the court clerk's office, or the Supreme Court clerk office, not for the individual judges, and there's an obnoxious so-called court officer there, a woman named Sandy DeVito, and she's like Gestapo, and she was stalking me all around, and she was intruding, and then she was joined by a woman named Carolyn Abramovitz, who described herself as a deputy court clerk, I guess, and they were in civil, but they were definitely uncivil. And they followed me into Shapiro's courtroom and told me that I couldn't sit there because it was a matrimonial case. And I said, I draw your attention to Judiciary Law, Section Article 2, Section 4, which is the courts open to the public. And she has a point there about matrimonial law. However, she cannot make me leave the courtroom. It takes a judge to do that. And Shapiro was in conferencing with the litigants. So these two people are going to have to be sued because this is the public's court. When I go in there, or when you go in there to see what they're up to, see if they're gainfully employed, that is a public inspection, okay? And they can't stop it. At issue was, years ago, they used to have the decisions that would come down from the judges, and they put them on two pockets on the wall for the Westchester Law Journal to pick up and for the New York Law Journal to pick up. And I used to sit around when I had time and read those decisions. And I always called them off-the-wall decisions. And they aren't there anymore. So I merely wanted to know, where are those decisions now? And they wouldn't tell me. DeVito didn't know, and Abramovitz would not tell me. So the thing is, folks, is they think they're running a country club. Well, it's not a country club. This is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So they will be sued, both of them. I watched Angelillo, and I watched this youth. He couldn't have been more than 17, a handsome young man. His name was Oliveira. And there he was in handcuffs. And there was no mother there, and there was no father there, no brothers, no sisters. He was all alone and in the hands of three so-called court officers. And Angelillo was very hard on him. And the lawyers get together, and here is Oliveira sitting way apart from him. The lawyers are huddled up with the law clerk and with Angelillo, and they're all deciding this person's fate, and this poor person who's going to bear the brunt of all this has nothing to say and doesn't even hear anything. And then they call them all up, and the poor little person, Oliveira, and then he's forced to plead guilty and give up his rights to a trial, give up his right to appeal, and he's forced to say yes, yes, yes to all these things. Do you like your counsel, your court-appointed counsel? It was obvious that he didn't. And it's just so sad to see that youth's life ruined right there in front of their eyes, and to see America ruined. And this happens all day long in 10 courtrooms. I just think it's awful, and I feel so sorry for those people. And now that he's going to be sentenced to something like 5 to 25 years or something like that. There goes his life. I just think that's so sad what they do to these people. And these judges and these lawyers, this young man was phony convicted of robbery, and these lawyers and these judges, they rob people every day. They rob people every day of their rights, of their Americanhood. They rob people every day, and they steal from them, and they cheat them, and they lie all day long. The people that go to prison, that they send off to prison, are angels compared to what these judges and what these lawyers do. It is very, very sad. I went up to the 11th floor, which is where the administrative judge is. That used to be in Gracia, now it's Nikolai. And I asked to see James Garfien because I wanted to know where those papers are, those off-the-wall decisions I told you about, where they were and where I could read them. And no, he isn't in. We've had an evacuation and all of the people aren't back yet. And there were 5 or 6 fire trucks and police cars outside of the county courthouse. And so I said, well, when is Mr. Garfien coming in? I don't know. We've had an evacuation and all of the people aren't in yet. And I said, is Judge Nikolai here? I don't know. We've had an evacuation and all of the people aren't in back yet. I said, I understand you've had an evacuation and I think it's between the ears. And I asked when Garfien would be in. And so I said, if I write a note to Garfien, will you give it to him and have him call me? Yes. It's terrible. It's bad from the judges down through the clerks, down through the lawyers, what we have in our courts today. Why can't we have good people in there? Good Americans. Yes, there is an evacuation, all right. A Chat with Glendora is now in Connecticut. It can be seen now in Connecticut at 10:30 p.m. Friday nights on Channel 27. So that makes 22 cable systems that A Chat with Glendora is on, trying to reform or get rid of the rubbish that's in the courts today. Gene Krasinski thinks that the newspapers are doing a very bad job of covering up what was wrong about the Diallo trial, and that they are remiss in doing their duty to you, the public. And he spoke about that this morning. 2, 1. Here is Gene Krasinski, and he has more thoughts about the Diallo case and the newspaper cover-up. Hi, Gene.
Good morning to you, Glendora, and I'm glad to be on the air once again with you. And this time I want to talk about the Diallo case and the means whereby the media is attempting to lessen the seriousness of the public policies against people like Diallo and the other people who've recently been murdered by police, abusive police action.
reflecting. What else are they doing?
Well, they're putting it down. What they're doing is instead of calling it, instead of examining the police and the police and political personnel practices of these different agencies, administrative agencies of the government, especially the New York Police Department, that recruit its agents from the Secret Service, from the military, from the FBI, and
Okay.
from the and these are things that have to be investigated. We have to investigate the personnel recruitment policies, which the New York Times seems not willing to talk about. Let me give you an example.
Well, wait.
An example of Mr. Johnson, who has been able to get cooperation from the media to avoid the fact that he lives in Westchester County and he's disqualified from acting in the Bronx County. And this way, he is in a sense being blackmailed into the behavior, the less aggressive behavior as a prosecutor of crimes committed in his county, and specifically Mr. Diallo. The trial of the officers, the police officers, was actually a conspiracy against justice to Diallo and his family and to the public itself.
So your first point is that the newspapers are not showing the public what's really going on in the police department,
Exactly.
and that they are not, and they're trying to get the public's attention away from it by talking about Austria
Exactly.
and about schools.
Right.
And then your third point was what about Mr. Johnson?
Well, Mr. Johnson is a specific, for instance, of how this is being done. Mr. Johnson is not qualified for the public position which he holds under the law of the state of New York. He does not live in the Bronx County. He lives in Westchester County. And he has been able to get the cooperation of all of the judges, of Judge Sweeten, the federal court, and other judges in the state courts to avoid an investigation into an inquiry into this very fact of his disqualification. And
So you want an inquiry into that, and you want an inquiry as to what kind of people the New York Police Department hires?
exactly.
Okay.
And the people who own the police department, the ones who pull the strings in the upper echelons, the ones now. Howard Safer, for instance, was involved in a drug operation in Venezuela 5 or 6 years ago. By
Hi there, folks. Guess what number program this is? 2,689. There were only 6 in-calls last night and 5 in Westchester, and nothing really to report. I have some jokes for you. The judge said to the defendant, "Why did you park there?" And the defendant says, "There was a sign that said fine for parking." Two secretaries at the IRS, they're looking over the income tax forms as they come in, and one of them says, "Oh, look, here's another one. Bachelor, no dependents, $70,000. And the accountant said to the secretary, "What is this all over the books? ESP, ESP, ESP." Secretary says, "It means error someplace." And the judge said to the little boy, "You were a good little, tidy, neat little boy not to put your banana peeling on the floor of the bus." "Where did you put it?" "Into the pocket of the man sitting next to me." And a young lad taking an engineering examination for the state dam was asked, "What does hydrodynamics mean?" And the young man said, "It means I don't get the job." And at the board meeting of the company, the chairman and the CEO said to one board member, "Look, I don't mind your falling to sleep during the board meeting, but it really hurts my feelings when you don't say good night. And did you know that aging is a matter of the mind? Aging is a matter of the mind. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter." Now, here in Nassau, it's very important for you folks to know the landlord-tenant law, because there are so many crooked landlords and there are so many greedy lawyers and there's so many corrupt judges. And it's a ring, and you've got to learn how to protect yourself against that. And I gave you the 2 laws that protect you from that, the 2 New York statutes, the real property law and the real property actions and proceedings law. And yesterday, Kasari went at it again. He tried a 3rd time. And yesterday, last week, I read to you pretty much all of the, here's about where we left off, of our motion to dismiss. And there's plenty of basis upon which to dismiss Kasari's eviction action number 3. Just a second, let me find the place where we left off. More defects in the service, quote unquote. 55, upon information and belief is not sufficient. The court needs facts. No license number, not a summons, does not comply with New York Code Rules and Regulations 2400, 2E, F, and H. Vagueness as to military time, equivocal. Time the military is not accurate as to 7:30. February the 25th, Friday at 3:30 p.m., Glendora was in the White Plains Post Office talking to the postmaster, and there was no certified mail, no regular mail service. If 7:30 p.m., the certified could not be on February the 22nd, since the post office is closed after 5 or 6 p.m. These pages are affectionate. They're stuck on each other. This is not the 5-day time limit required by statutes. Barnum, the process server, has committed perjury. It was another Barnum who said, "There's a sucker born every minute and 2 to take him." Due process, equal protection of the law. Franklin and Glendora have these rights by both constitutions, state and federal. Any violators of the same will be prosecuted pursuant to 42 U.S. Code, Section 1983, Civil Rights, and Section 1985, Conspiracy. Audio tape and videotape. Franklin and Glendora demand their right to audio tape and videotape the March 1st, 2000 hearing and all other court appearances. Barone is nescient to ask for attorney's fees. No attorney's fees can be given unless specified in the lease, and there is no lease. No attorney fees can be awarded in a summary proceeding. Glendora has a case for that. Upon the foregoing papers, the court finds and decides as follows. Petitioner moves his court for an order awarding legal fees in favor of petitioner and against the respondents in the sum of $16,909.30 pursuant to subdivision 20AS of the original lease agreement. A party's claim for attorney's fees is a separate and distinct cause of action, rules this judge. Merotran Advertising Trust Fund versus Cato Trends. In addition, the weight of authority is that costs are distinct from attorney's fees. The court, having reviewed the file submissions and exhibits in connection with the instant motion, finds that this court lacks subject matter jurisdiction to grant the relief requested to the petitioner's moving papers, which was the $17,000 in attorney's fees. So they lost, these crooks. While the city court may render judgment for rent due without regard to amount, no such statutory authority exists regarding an award of attorney's fees in connection with a summary proceeding. Furthermore, the amount requested for legal fees exceeds the monetary jurisdiction of the court, the Uniform City Court, which is $15,000. Accordingly, petitioner's motion is denied. This decision constitutes the order of the court, and it is entered on the 19th day of October, 1998. That was a huge victory for us. A victory for all time. That really is case law. We really made law with that one. Okay, this is not the 5-day time limit. We did that. We're up to page 30. Casari Barone, another lie. Casari and Barone commit fraud on the court. They know Casari is holding in hand the November rent check. They know Casari refused to take the December rent check when Franklin handed it to him personally. They know that Cher refused to let Glendora pay the January rent into court. The February rent check is on the TV set waiting for Casari to pick it up, etc. But respondents respondents, Glendora and Franklin, are responsible only for the current month's rent. March, no lease, month to month. Remember that a month-to-month tenant is responsible only for the current month's rent. Casari Barone cannot ask for the same relief twice. It's res judicata, and it's collateral estoppel. They failed the first time they took this case to the New Rochelle court. They can't bring it there again. Collateral estoppel and res judicata. And no more illegal withdrawals, no more foul balls. This case has to be adjudicated within the bounds of this court. It is alleged to be in. What happens in other courts is out of bounds. Warranty of habitability. Casari has violated respondents' inalienable warranty of habitability over 100 times. Some of these violations are delineated in respondents' counterclaim. Remember to write a counterclaim. Retaliation. Franklin and Glendora asked Casari for repairs. Instead of repairs, he got angry instead. Next came the retaliation. So there's two claims against him, counterclaim, warranty of habitability and retaliation. The real property law says that a landlord cannot retaliate against the tenant for reporting him to authorities. He was reported to authorities for not having any recycle. Nor can a landlord harass tenants to move. Casari is retaliating because Glendora has sued him in the United States District Court, District of Delaware, demanding that he and his family be deported to Hungary. CPLR 3211B, grounds for dismissal, action pending in another court. Default. Casari defendants and Barone and New Rochelle Court defendants are in default. Motion for judgment by default pursuant to Rule 55, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, is now pending in the United States District Court, District of Delaware. And Glendora and Franklin incorporate herein all statements, oral and written, about Casari, Barone, and the New Rochelle Court as if fully stated herein. This includes the 12 TV reports, 1/2 hour each. The papers are titled Summary Proceeding 2842-99. Motion to dismiss, a counterclaim, the bill of particulars, the demand for trial by jury with notice of motion of December 1st, 1999. Motion for default judgment of December 10, 1999. Grievances against Barone and Fry of January 15th, 2000. Motion to reconsider of January 15th, 2000. Notice Glendora and Franklin win all the relief they sought on, and that's February 9th, 2000. And in the complaint to the United States District Court, District of Delaware, on New Year's Day. And here are the counterclaims. Casari has violated tenant's warranty of habitability on over 100 counts. Infra is a list of some of them. A, insufficient heat, apartment cold, we are never cozy warm. Oven does not work, no railings on the front steps. Franklin is still hobbling from falling there. No water, no washer, no dryer. And that's what you do. You list all of the things that the landlord didn't repair. And this landlord has one hefty list. And Casari has violated our inalienable right to enjoy peacefully, quietly, our home in safety and cleanliness. That's the warranty of habitability. Let me remind you again that doesn't appear in writing anywhere, but it's implied in any rental agreement. It's implied. That's a New York State law. It's implied. And that you have a guarantee to warranty of habitability. It's tautological. You have a warranty of habitability. Retaliation by New York State real property law, a landlord cannot retaliate when tenant reports him to the authorities. Recycle New Rochelle. When Glendora asked Casari for repairs, he did not repair. He retaliated. Harassment. A landlord cannot harass a tenant to move pursuant to New York State real property law. He has harassed us to move over a dozen times. A person is guilty of harassment when he follows a course of conduct that annoys and alarms with no legitimate purpose. And that's by the penal law. Wherefore, respondents Franklin and Glendora have copiously delineated why this action must be dismissed or why this court en banc must recuse. Respondents plead $900,000 in compensatory and punitive damages, retention of possession of the premises, cessation of harassment to move, that a withdrawal be with prejudice and with all relief sought by respondents, that the repairs listed herein be accomplished along with improvements needed, future rent be paid into court, compliance with recycling law and all other laws, proper maintenance, the cost of this action, and any further relief just and proper. And this is signed by Franklin and Glendora on the day before leap year. And there seem to be a few more other pages here. Just tell you what they are. Oh, a bill of particulars asking Casari, for instance, why didn't you do the repairs Glendora asked you to do? Why do you want Glendora and Franklin to move? Why don't you put a railing on the front stairs where Franklin would not have fallen had he had something to grasp and would have avoided 2 months of limping and impeded walking, plus all the pain. So this is the bill of particulars that's attached. And here is an hourly, daily law-breaking by Casari. This is a log that I'd kept. I've told you about that before. This log starts on the 21st of February. And these are all complaints of things, or a record of what he does and what he doesn't do. And then there are the exhibits. And the exhibits are all of the papers in the previous eviction case, which failed. And that's it. And that was ready to serve on Monday. And then we went to court on Wednesday. We were called to court on Wednesday. And here is the most recent legal paper. It was finished this morning. And it is Glendora plaintiff versus Ishvan Kasari Jr., Ilona Kasari, Gabor, and Agnes Kasari, Group 1 defendants. Nicholas P. Barone, New Rochelle City Court, Preston S. Scher, Gail Rice, James Generoso, and Court Officer number 6606, Group 2 defendants. And this is a memorandum by Glendora, what happened in the Scher Court on March the 1st, 2000. I had made my picket signs, deport Kasari, front and back, and I took them to court with me. I took my camcorder, my new camcorder, and I took my audio tape recorder. And the court was late. It's supposed to open at 9 o'clock. That's what the summons said. We waited around until 10 after 9, and finally the court was open. And then we went to the courtroom, and that was locked. So we waited around until 9:30, until that was open. And then we went into the courtroom, and the judge wasn't there. So we waited around until 9:45 for the judge. How's that for court operation? Now I continue with the log that I told you about just a few seconds ago, saying what I did about this and what Kasari doesn't do about the ownership of this property. And then it turned out that the court officer who shouted, "Get out!" and who was sued for that, happened to be hanging around the court. He didn't seem to be on duty, and I knew the court stenographer. It was Vera. And she has a twin sister who is also a court stenographer. I've known them for years, and I can't tell one from the other. So finally, Scher started to call the calendar, and he called the civil calendar before the criminal calendar, and I wonder if it had anything to do with this particular case and the fact that Scher is involved because he's been sued for his bad conduct. Franklin, the court was 15 minutes late, I told you that, and Franklin still injured from Kasari Jr. hitting him on the head with a door, the front door, and knocking him over backwards onto his gluteus maximus. Franklin got very tired of standing, and Glendora asked a court officer for a chair, and he was nice to provide one. The courtroom was 15 minutes late opening. Scher was 15 minutes late to the bench. Then when there were about 1/3 less people today compared to November 29th, 1999, the last court date. Scher called civil calendar before criminal, and we wondered if that was because of the nature of this what's going on here. Glendora knew the court stenographer. The court, and finally Scher showed 45 minutes late, and when he called our case, by the way, Barone was not in sight. Glendora rose and said, "Respondents ready, motion to dismiss, application to audio tape and videotape," and Scher, of course, being Scher, habitually a no-listener, an interrupter, said in the middle of it that I have been sued along with others in this court. Consequently, the case can proceed no further in this court, and it will have to go to another court. It is in the hands of the administrative judge, and we will be getting a letter in the mail. That was it. Hooray, 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 hooray. That is the way to win. Just sue the judge. When the judge begins to violate your civil rights, sue him in a federal court. Glendora was jubilant. This was a huge victory. She got the relief she sought in her motion, because my motion said, remember, in the alternative to recuse. And Kasari did not get an eviction. So there's another defeat for Kasari, the third one. Franklin and Glendora were victorious again, and Edward A. Fry appeared for Barone, and Barone must have been too ashamed to face us. And Kasari must have been too, because he wasn't there. Glendora served the motion to dismiss on Fry as they stood at the tables, and Fry said thank you and took it. Again, the court officers had stolen the table space. These tables should be free of their clutter. Litigants need space for their papers. There were about 10 court officers hanging around, and this is taxpayer profligacy. Fry asked those twice if he could talk to us out in the hall. He is very good looking and very well dressed, and Franklin was too. Glendora was not. She does not have time anymore to dress up. Before reporting on what Fry said, Glendora lists the following inserts. Luis downstairs said he would have gone to court with us, Glendora and Franklin, if he had known the day before to tell his boss. Glendora brought her picket signs into the court, and the security guards put them under their desk. Deport Kasari. Chair is unintelligible, he has no microphone, and he should. He mumbles, he holds his head down, the view of him is blocked. As an old court monitor, Glendora knows that these are don'ts. Franklin could not hear him. Fry did not either, apparently, because later he could not repeat what Chair had said when Glendora asked Fry twice about that. Now, triumph. By the way, where is this paper going? This paper is going to the United States District Court, District of Delaware. It's not going to the New Rochelle Court, and it's not going to the Westchester Supreme Court. It's going to federal court, where we have the action for Cher, for violating civil rights, all of his gang, and all of the Kasari people for violating the rights of Americans, coming to this country and breaking the law repeatedly, and to deport the whole Kasari bunch. So triumph. It is a great victory. It shows when people are as bad as Kasari, Barone, Cher, Generoso, and the court clerks and court officers, and when the public asserts inalienable rights and holds the line, then indeed we do have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Don't forget that, folks. When you know your rights and you hold to the line, they have to, at last, live by the law. It shows that courts are good for something. Courts have strayed and wandered so far and so long from their raison d'etre, their reason for being. It is a monumental victory when somebody awakens them to their purpose. Euphoria. Glendora leaps with joy for America. One day after February 29th, leap year, 2000. We had a party at Lynbrook on February 29th for leap year. And Pat Galino said we should put the cake on the floor and leap over it. Glendora wanted to savor the victory for the USA, but Fry wanted to talk. So the ecstasy had to be postponed, and that's what courts call a second call. So the rest of many pages of this report go on as to what Fry said, and in a nutshell, what all that Fry did was try to find out what we want, and of course what we want is the cessation of this harassment to move, which has no basis, and we want Kasari to fix up this place the way he should. And Franklin all the time was bent over, Here is Fry's card. He says his name is pronounced Frey, but I can't see that. Franklin has been over all the time from Ishvan Kasari Jr., opening the door, hitting him on the head, and knocking Franklin over the stairs and onto the concrete sidewalk on his gluteus maximus, which still hurts and causes a whole lot of pain, go down to the knee, and still causes him to limp and take very small steps. So, but after Fry had gone, and this is all in detail about Fry, I took Franklin to Dunkin' Donuts so he could celebrate. And then we went to look at another apartment. We had called a man a month ago about an apartment, and he had rented it. And then we had another apartment available. He kept our number, which is a pretty smart man. And we went over to see that. And this is Ginny Cat. And Ginny Cat, what do you want? What is it you want, Ginny Cat? There you go. And this is the rest of the log and things that happened Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of this week. And so, let me tell you again. Okay, there's a ring going on. It's a severe, horrible, diabolical ring because it makes people homeless. And this ring is run by greedy landlords, crooked liars, and corrupt judges. As greedy, corrupt, and crooked as they are, you can beat them. How? You read the New York State Real Property Law, Article 7, and you read the New York State Real Property Actions and Proceedings Law. Now that might sound like, why these two laws? Well, it was such a mess trying to resolve these landlord-tenant fights that the legislature of the state of New York says we've got to have a law that tells specifically how an eviction has to be done, and it has to be done exactly like this, and it must be strictly construed. And so that was the Real Property Actions and Proceedings Law, just what it says. So you know that. And then when they send you the summons, or when they try to serve you, they've got to do it just exactly the way the law says. If they don't, you have them. And you have them for a year. It can take them a very long time to try to get you out. Okay, I think we'll just close now with the music, the hymns, and with the character generator. And there's so much to thank God for. And remember, count your blessings before you count the 5 or 10 things that are not right in your life. Count your blessings first, and remember those. Keep the courage flaming. It is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. When you stand up and assert your rights, they back down.